Hello. I thought I would join the club and add my 2 cents to this whole Will Smith slap thing. I know there are more important things going on in the world right now, but it didn't feel to me like it was just celebrity gossip. It felt like it was quite a profound moment that reflected and revealed quite a lot about the current state of our society. So I thought it was worth commenting on. Most of what I feel and think has been said by other people, so I haven't got a huge amount to add. Um, and that actually has been a point of encouragement for me. I've actually felt a little bit of my faith in humanity has been restored looking at the reaction, because it almost seems to be left and right at almost unanimous agreement that Will Smith is wrong, and Chris Rock handled it brilliantly. It's almost, unanimous agreement on the morality of the incident, the psychological state of Will Smith, the whether it was staged or real. Most people seem to agree. You've got a few people on the fringes who still think words of violence, but general agreement. And it's felt quite nice for me to finally have an opinion that seems to be shared by the mainstream. So quite encouraged by that. But I have a few other things to say though. And for me, the most disturbing thing of the whole thing is not just the incident itself, which was quite shocking. It was the reaction in the immediate aftermath at the Oscars. The fact that he wasn't escorted out, he was allowed to get his award, he was given a standing ovation, he went to the after party and partied, and all of that stuff. Nobody protested, nobody booed. That was the disturbing thing, and that slightly sickening feeling that a lot of people have mentioned, of immediately after the slap happened, that feeling of like power. Somebody just used his power and overpowered this other person, sat back down, and you just saw this obviously wrong thing, and nothing happened. Like somebody just overpowered somebody else, and then nothing happening, and then him giving a standing ovation. That uneasy feeling of how do you react to this, and nobody knew, and he was actually given a standing ovation. And to me, it was like in that moment, morality lost and power won. Power won, which is another way of saying God lost and the devil won. It felt like the devil reigned in the Oscars ceremony that night, because they allowed power to just win, and morality did not win. And so it was a very uneasy feeling. But that sickening feeling, that's how I've felt for the last 5 years, and there's probably other people who have felt it for longer. Like, our society, I feel, has been going in this direction for years. This is nothing new. We kind of seem to be, everything seems to be inverting, and we keep celebrating criminals and blaming the victims. And in pop music and stuff, criminality and debauchery is being glamorized, and everything's being inverted. So they're like, the anti-racists seem to be the most racist now, and the anti-fascists are the ones being fascist, and the liberals are the most illiberal, and everything seems to kind of be changing. And I felt like this for a lot of issues, but one in particular was in 2020. And I'm surprised nobody's commented on this or seemed to have forgotten it so quickly. In 2020, there was the Black Lives Matter riots, and I've got no problem with people protesting peacefully. That's fine, but they weren't peaceful. They became riots. There was arson, looting, and there was these angry mobs going around, intimidating people. They were pulling down statues, forcing people to take a knee. And this is why I still feel a bit weird about sports stars taking the knee in football in Europe, because to me it wasn't anything to do with race. It was about intimidation and submission, and people taking the knee is literally an act of submission. That's how it felt to me. I mean, it was all distorted. But that was what was going on, and so I saw all of this intimidation and force and criminality, arson and looting, and how did the society respond? And it didn't seem like people were en masse condemning it. If anything, a lot of the media were encouraging it. And you had a lot of politicians in America coming out and actually encouraging it and telling them to keep going. It wasn't condemned; it was encouraged. And you had like CNN saying, this thing like fiery but mostly peaceful protests, calling this peaceful protests with like fires burning in the background. It was like ridiculous. And then Chris Cuomo saying, "Show me where in the Constitution it says that protests are supposed to be polite or peaceful." And then this chap showed him. That was quite funny. And so you had all of that. And if you, just a little reminder to refresh your memory, I found this is all from the Trump era 2020 kind of time. This is what was said at the time.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
This way. That's it right there, pulling up.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
So these are all examples of people justifying violence because they don't like somebody else's opinion. Conflating violence, words with violence. That's all it was, wasn't it? You might say, oh, it's Trump, it doesn't matter, but to me it's exactly the same thing. Will Smith thought it was justified because he just didn't like somebody else's opinion. It's justification of violence because you don't like somebody else's opinion. So this is nothing new. So is it any surprise that Will Smith felt that was in the realm of possible things that he could do, like the uncrossable bridge that he crossed? It wasn't quite as uncrossable in his mind because we've been condoning it for years, encouraging people to and saying it's okay to punch people in the face if you don't like what they say, and it makes you a hero. And is it any wonder that the audience didn't know how to react? Because they've been confused for the last few years. Whenever we see these shows of force and violence, it gets applauded. It doesn't get condemned, it gets applauded. So isn't that why there was the weird feeling? And this is why I'm kind of glad that everybody's come out with this unanimous condemnation of what happened. It's like, oh, thank God people's moral compasses haven't totally changed. We do know what's right and wrong. It's just it got confused. And, because the media confuses it, I think. And I was talking to somebody recently about how the last few years have felt to me. And the way I described it was that I felt like I was walking down a street, big public street, loads of people, town centre, and I witnessed a man in a sharp suit grab a woman, beat the crap out of her, abuse her, strip her naked, rape her, humiliate her, pour his drink all over her, just totally humiliate her. And then I looked to see how the society reacted. And it was like society defended him and they all turned on the woman. That was this feeling of like, what the hell is going on? And it was this feeling of like, the way it has happened in my mind was like, firstly, the people didn't know how to react. And so they all turned to their devices because people have lost the ability to think for themselves. They give that ability to their devices. They say, tell me what to think. And so they all turn to the devices, and then the media and Silicon Valley and Hollywood tell them what to think. And if they say the woman's bad and the man's good, then the public turn on the woman and they defend the man. And then when that happens, the politicians come along and they follow the people. So if the people have turned on the woman, then the politicians join in and they turn on the woman. And then they write the laws. And so then the police follow what the politicians say, because the police, the laws are written by the politicians, so the police follow them. And then the whole society just goes in that order, and we've all turned against the woman. Then I come along and I try to kind of defend the woman, and everybody turns on me, and my arrest gets threatened. And it's like, it's just total clown world. And that's how I felt for like the last 5 years or so with like every issue. I just keep finding myself on the side of the woman. But whether I'm justified in feeling that is another question, and maybe everybody feels like that. Maybe it's a victim thing. Everybody sees themselves as a victim. I don't know, but that's how I felt. So this is no surprise to me that this has happened. My solution though is that it all starts with the media and Silicon Valley and these devices. And to me, my feeling is that they're too far left, which is like a political thing, and half the country are not going to agree with that. But that's how I feel. If it seems to me like the government system is still fine. We've got these democratic vote, checks and balances. The system kind of balances itself reasonably well. Not perfect, but it's okay. But with the media, Silicon Valley, Hollywood, academia, there's no checks and balances, it doesn't seem. And it's like the left often talk about diversity and equal representation. Why don't they have equal representation of political opinion? It's just that one extra thing. That's all they need, and it would just. I feel like it would solve so much stuff. Equal representation. We just need balance in media, academia, and Silicon Valley, and it feels like there's no balance at all. It's just complete leftyville, and that is what I think we need, because if we had that, then there would have been, because the reason why it's important is because all these institutions, media, academia, all this kind of stuff, Silicon Valley, they control people's minds and feelings, because whoever has control of right think and wrong think, good and bad, if you have the control of that, human beings are so conforming, and that they will just follow you, because the idea of being on that side of the wrong think, being on the bad side, is just too much for most people. Most people don't like it, and so they're all just doing exactly what they're told. Everybody's just doing what their devices tell them, following the right think all the time, and it's ruining society. I think it's too much control. We need that balance so that we can have at least a balance of opinions, or a spectrum of opinions, so that people don't have to feel shame with whatever opinion they choose. And if we had that with the Oscars slap, maybe if people had condemned the BLM riots more, then maybe it would have been more acceptable to condemn Will Smith as well. And it would have been a more normal thing. It would have been a normalized thing to say, oh no, this isn't acceptable, get out. People would have stood up. I feel like that's what would have happened in the 1950s. A bunch of male actors would have stood up and demanded that he leave. They would have been fighting to be the hero who does that. But we've lost that. So that's my feeling, is that the media and all that kind of stuff has gone too far left, and we need balance. But that's just my opinion. Showing my bias a little bit maybe, but that's my opinion. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say. I had other things, but I think I'll leave it there. Okay, bye bye.